All right. Welcome to another episode of For Footballers Only. I'm Mike Idiokitas.
I'm James Pinay.
And today we have a special guest.
Hey guys, my name's Amir Lowery. Super happy to be here and be chopping up all things football. I'm a DC native, former MLS player. I currently am the executive director of Open Goal Project, and I also do some work for the MLS Players Association.
Welcome.
Thanks, guys.
We finally got him. The crowd's going wild. The crowd's going wild.
Yes. Welcome to the show.
I love that.
Yes. All right, Amir, you know what I mean? Like, it's been a long time coming. So let's just get right into it. Where does your football story begin?
Man, begins very early. Where and when, or they said
Both. Where and when?
very, very early in DC. My parents did not have a soccer background at all. My dad was a three-sport athlete, track, football, wrestling, but they just didn't want to put us in football, or my mom didn't want to. So I started at the age of 4. My brother's 2 years older than me. And we just started playing in rec leagues. Jelliff, I think rec was one of our first early rec programs. And we played Stoddard rec. I think a lot of people my generation came up. If you were playing soccer in DC, then that's the mechanism you came up through, you know. So there wasn't, I don't think, a ton of other options, but that was my start. And, you know, I bounced around playing club ball here in DC. I had a pretty fortunate experience to play for different clubs and meet a lot of different people and, you know, play for a lot of coaches who, you know, gave me that you know, knowledge that I needed, right? So, and guidance that I needed. So that's a long answer, but hopefully answers the beginning.
No, that's good. So let's go back to you start playing at 4 and you're playing a lot of rec, and I take it you and your brother, because you said 2 years apart, you guys are pretty much playing the same teams, right?
Mostly I would train with his teams as we got older, but when we started playing rec, I don't think we were playing on the same team. But early, once we started playing travel, I would go train with his teams, and that's something that kind of helped me get ahead a little bit.
Yeah. Who was better?
I always thought that my brother was better than I was. But I just had a different focus and drive and intensity for soccer.
Yeah.
But athletically, like fitness-wise, I think he would have had a high ceiling. He played collegiately at Ohio State for 1 year, and they won the Big Ten title. So he has a ring. I don't have any rings from my. And then he stopped playing after his freshman year. So he has something to show for his career too, as I had no hardware or very little. So, but that's part of what drove me always, and, you know, kept me kind of pushing to be better, you know, always having somebody ahead of you helps. I think all younger siblings have an advantage in that way.
Yes, indeed.
So.
Okay, so going back to, you know, you and your brother, I might know the answer to this. So did you have a football idol growing up?
Early. Not one that I clearly could identify, you know. There wasn't a lot of soccer at least that I knew about, to watch and digest, you know.
Mhm.
So once I was clued into World Cups and understanding where players were from and where they played, like club football, you know, one of my favorite teams was always Arsenal. Vieira was my favorite player once I really understood, like, okay, what kind of player am I going to be like?
Mm-hmm.
You know, who's bossing the midfield, who has some swag, and he was, you know, all action. He did everything. So if there was one person, he was it for me. Like, just the complete footballer.
Nah, Vieira's a boss. All right. So since you brought up Vieira, we have this question that we ask everyone. I think you kind of heard some of the stories about this question, but there are no right answers. And regardless of what you say, you know, given your circle, people are gonna have something to say. So the question is, who's your top 11 footballers of all time?
Oh man, I could pick anybody, but I won't take too long to do it. I would just go off of, like, not necessarily. Well, it's hard to really determine the best, right? Because football is subjective. But I would just put the players that I like. If I had an 11, a team that I could choose, like, of any era, I would pick the Invincibles, Arsenal. But so Vieira's in my team.
Okay.
Henry is in my team. Perez in his prime is in my team.
Oh, awesome. Right there.
I mean, Bergkamp.
Wow.
They're not just Arsenal, though.
No, those are ballers. Yeah, I mean, like, that's
some legends, man.
Yeah.
Not gonna be hostile.
I mean, I wouldn't even put, you know, any of the typical names. Mbappe. My favorite 6 right now. There's some really good defensive mids now. I'm trying to think whose game I like the most.
You have 5 thus far.
5. I don't have a back 4 or a goalkeeper, right?
Yeah, I mean,
some defenders,
or
just 11. You need
it could just be 11 forwards. You know, like that's what some people
fair. So my other favorite players. Man, that's a hard question when you really think about it. I'm gonna not choose a goalkeeper.
Okay.
Center back. Can't be an Arsenal player either. I mean, I'd have to have R9, Ronaldo, old school Ronaldo in the squad.
Okay, that's 6.
Roberto Carlos.
7.
Cafu.
8.
Man, okay, we're pushing the limit here. I'm trying to get like a good rounded 11 too. I don't watch a ton of Virgil van Dijk, but I haven't seen as complete a like center back as him. So I would put him in there.
9.
Mm,
2 more.
there's a lot of people I'm overlooking right now.
Mhm.
I might get roasted for my answer. I'd have to put Zizou in there.
Okay. 10. One more. I mean, there's so many people.
Oh, I'm thinking. I was like, I haven't named any African footballers. JJ Kocha.
Okay, 11. You would have. You would
You
have.
let me do it again, I'd have another 11. But
Yeah, that's,
I mean, that's
tough.
yeah. You know, especially given you started with Arsenal, the Invincibles.
like 5
Yeah.
Arsenals.
Yeah. I mean, but the reality though is that even though it was Arsenal, it was a bunch of Arsenal players. All those players are legends as well.
Yeah, world class
Yeah.
players, World Cup winners and too.
yeah.
Yeah. So no, it's a tough list. You got a mix of the '98 Brazil squad in there.
Mm-hmm.
Cafu, Roberto Carlos, R9. No, it's good.
Yeah.
You will get roasted though. I mean that's that's a guarantee. All right.
That's okay. I'll take that.
Yeah. All right. So you was going back to club ball. You and your brother, you said you used to go to used to train with him,
Mm-hmm.
his team, which was a little older than yours. What at any point did you transition to his team, and then you the two of you started playing on the same team?
I guest played at times with his team, but never full on 100%. No, I was playing. I just ended up playing with different teams. I'm not sure why exactly, but it was a little bit. I was a good player. It was probably just a little too big of a jump,
To play on his team.
Yeah.
The 2 years up. Given that you played on
he also played for a very good team. So a lot of his peers also played collegiately. It's a Team America Clyde Watson team.
Okay.
So
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't easy to get a look or get a spot on their team either.
Yeah. So you say you played a number you played for a number of clubs.
Mm-hmm.
And we're jumping a little bit, but given what was your experience like playing at a lot of clubs, and particularly this is in the late 90s, 2000. What was your experience like? Did you feel like outside? Were these clubs in DC clubs, or you were playing in Virginia and Maryland?
I played for Stoddard to start. And then I progressed to a range of other, I can't even remember the exact order, but I played for several of Clyde's teams. And I think he moved a couple times, and my parents wanted maybe me to stick with him, but I played for a Bethesda team, or to stay kind of around his coaching umbrella, so to speak. But there were some coaches and people that we knew in that sphere that kind of guided, I guess, my parents' decisions. I was a little, I wasn't deciding anything at that point. But I played for a McLean team. I played for a Bethesda-based team. The last club I played for that I got recruited for was technically a Gunston Team America team. Our coach was a former coach of American University, Todd West. And that team was put together. Also played for Sergeant Robbie, if you guys know him. And so I grew up in and around Team America, but I also, moved to different clubs. And Team America had kind of a unique, I can't explain it, but they would build within a club almost. You'd be like Team America from at Gunston, or I don't know how exactly it worked, and I'm probably misspeaking, but that was just me being young and enjoying what I was doing, not asking a lot of questions.
Yeah.
I would say so yeah, I didn't have like a lot of continuity, and I didn't play with like the same kids for that long ever. But I think my parents and my dad they saw that I was really passionate about the game. They were looking for the best opportunity for me. And going back to my brother's team, my brother was playing for a really strong team where, kids had certain prospects. I hadn't really found that club or that outlet yet, even though we had tried this last team I played for my senior year, that was coached by Todd. We had kids from Fredericksburg, Virginia on this team, and we trained all the way down in Alexandria. But kids came from all over to play for our team, and we were very good. I was right place, right time. My dad knew when the tryout was, and we heard what was what and when the team was forming, but they intentionally brought kids from several different places. We had a couple kids from DC, but literally kids are coming from all over to play for this team. And, the goal was clear, right? To play in high level competitions, so we'll try to win some things and, get everyone to college. So I just landed in a good spot there, and that was that. But the teams I played on were not diverse, I never remember having more than, a couple Black teammates, a handful at times, but, I do remember my brother's team being more diverse than the average. They had, a very solid core of Black and brown kids. But I also never felt too much like an outsider. And I don't know why exactly that was, but my family is very much middle class, so we were going to soccer camps, and playing pay to play soccer where like Precious was not playing pay to play soccer, for example. Or some of the kids that come through our program now, they don't have a parent with transportation to drive them around to games and practices and make sure that they have that experience,
Yeah.
So I was fortunate to have that. I'm sure there were definitely moments there were definitely moments, but I think I was just lucky in that way.
Yeah. So I'm going to add on this. I'm going to go back a little bit. You mentioned, like you were just saying, you play on a lot of clubs. So playing on a lot of clubs, I mean, you play with a lot of coaches. At a young age, what do those coaches impact on your game and on you as a person?
Yeah. For sure. So I want to go back to that last bit. I want to clarify
Yeah.
one thing, then I'll answer that question, James. But
Mm-hmm.
I will say I did have a couple of black coaches and some diverse coaches. But I'll also say that in some of the environments, going back to like how I felt, I did feel like there were, in some situations, I did feel like there were players who got opportunities ahead of me, for whatever reason, but I knew that I was in the minority, right? I couldn't put my exact finger on it, but I knew that I didn't always have the same rapport with coaches, you know, and in that way, I think I did kind of feel like an outsider, like I didn't speak the language, you know, when the coach is like being buddy with certain kids, white kids, or doing certain things, and you're like, wait a second, he doesn't do that to me, you know. But like I said, that was in some environments, and I was lucky to have a super, you know, diverse coaching experience, youth coaching experience. So, and yet, I played for Clyde, and he's a legend, you know, in the DMV on the soccer scene. So he had it. Back to your question, James. He had a massive impact on me as a young player, you know, and the things that he emphasized and the way that he taught us the game from an early age. I played for Richie Burke, who's the Spirit coach. He was my first travel. Clyde was my brother's first coach, and Richie was my first travel coach with Stoddard. So I kind of was getting both of them early, which, you know, if you look at them now, that's pretty unique. Todd West, who coached at American, like that, the end of my collegiate career to play for a college coach was obviously super unique also. He just established a different intensity in training, you know, and that was important for me to move forward, right? And then I'd say everyone under like Clyde's coaching tree, like Robbie, I don't know why I'm forgetting his last name, but Coach Robbie was also a big influence. Sure, there's people I'm missing, but then collegiately, my college coach, Jay Vidovich, who's now at Pitt, but he did great things to establish a program at Wake Forest, and, you know, just all of those people taught me how to play the game the right way, you know, how to approach the game the right way. You know, all the little things that fill in around the edges, you know. But so that's a long-winded answer. I didn't have, unfortunately, I didn't have coaches at the professional level that I felt like I had one coach, Mark DeSantos, who's a Vancouver Whitecaps coach currently, who I played for briefly. Then he got fired. I played under him at Montreal. But outside of him, I don't know if I had necessarily the best relationships with my coaches. like I referenced, you know, I never felt like I was in the inner circle, so to speak, or like, you know, I was gonna get prioritized or be heard out, or that they wanted my opinion, or anyway.
Yeah, no. So there's a lot that I want to touch on, which that you touched on, about your experience in jumping from different clubs, and then you know, as a kid, but I actually, and then going in these environments where you felt like an outsider, even professionally. But before we get to that aspect, I want to continue the, you know, the trajectory of your, you know, of your career, um, especially your playing career. So you know, you play club ball, and you're in your senior year, and you find this program that gives you more visibility, and then what's next?
Uh, so I got recruited, started getting recruited my senior year. We went to all the big tournaments, I guess you could say, around that time. I started to get recruited. You know, I wanted to play in the ACC and really see what the top level was. So that was my priority. I actually started talking to Wake pretty late in the process. But, you know, once I had visited and I understood the opportunity that was there, and, you know, academically and athletically, it seemed like somewhere I could, you know, make a name for myself. And at that time, it wasn't a program like it is currently. You know, they were barely like nationally ranked, or like it wasn't like that. So he kind of pitched exactly his vision and what he saw for the program, and it became that. So I'm glad he saw some of that in me, you know. But so it was an easy decision once I had been there and talked to my family, and, you know, the stadium there and the facilities are just, it's
Nice.
very, very easy to go play soccer every day. Or you don't want to leave, really.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's nice. So okay, so you had a pretty good college career, and then take us through the transition to the professional ranks.
Yeah, it was tough for me in a lot of ways. I think the league, when I got into MLS, it was MLS's 10th anniversary. There was 12 teams in MLS. I made $12,900 my rookie year, $800 a month. You know, I didn't have like, you know, checks coming from the parents, or I didn't have a car my rookie year. So coming from Wake Forest, where like training environment was quality, there was a lot of structure. You know, there was a real family environment. Then I played for Colorado. I got drafted by the Rapids. I played there my rookie year. So having like very little money, not having a car, trying to figure out like how to navigate, you know, real life, adult life. Our training scenario, I'm not complaining, I'm just telling you what it was. We played at Mile High Stadium, where the Broncos play our games, and our training facility was literally a public park. So for me, it was that piece of it in our facility, and I don't know, it took me some time to adjust.
Yeah.
All of that said, the level of the team, it was a good team that I played on that first year, and I played with, so the part of what made the transition hard also was I came out of college playing defensive mid, playing 6. Kyle Beckerman and Pablo Mastroeni were both on the Rapids that year. And I was at a point that season, I was like, why did they draft me? What am I doing? But so that was good, and positives and negatives. I mean, I got to see 2 super high level players, World Cup players, you know,